Welcome to another episode of A Gift from Adversity. Thank you for joining us. Today, we have a really great guest. His name is Christopher Boozer. He is one of my college friends' husband, who I met when I went to Phoenix. So his story is very inspiring, and he's writing a book. So I will let him talk about the book. But before we jump into that, my name is Juri Love. I'm your host, and I have a book out. It's called A Gift from Adversity, which is the title of this show. I wanted to do this show because I published this book, A Gift from Adversity, subtitle Overcoming Sexual Abuse, Domestic Violence, Bullying, and Homelessness. I gotten a lot of messages from people confiding me that they are also the survivor of the abuse or homelessness, etc. And I felt really compelled to create a platform where people can discuss specifically about adversity and how they overcame it, and to empower other people, and then what is a gift that came from adversity. And that has been my show so far. I have recorded about 7 episodes, and then we had really great, inspiring guests. But today is not an exception.
Mhm.
Christopher has really became somebody who's inspirational to many people. But to get to where he is right now, he had been through a lot of adversities that he shared with me after the show. So, anyways, let's welcome Christopher Boozer. Hi, Christopher. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Juri. Those are very kind words, and your book definitely was a blessing when I was able to read it. So, thank you for your service. Thank you for being vulnerable and opening it up. It helped me to feel more comfortable with finishing and sharing my story.
Yes, absolutely. So before we jump into a gift from adversity, the adversity part, I want you to introduce yourself to our guest, your name, and then what you do currently.
My name is Christopher A. Boozer, and currently I am looking to affect change in as many cities as possible around the United States, working with organizations that are interested in correcting some of the wrongs. There's one organization that I'm working with that's going into another state to help the community um, and law enforcement, along with the legislation, to really create new norms instead of those that were already imposed and people are just accepting them as the way they're supposed to be. These individuals are focused on creating something that's mutually beneficial for all parties. So my focus is to leave this world a better place. So that's one of the things I'm working on. Another thing, I have a podcast that goes along with the book that I'm preparing for. So that book, you can always come back to Killing Yourself, describes my journey of putting my gun to my head to take my life and everything that happened subsequently that has completely changed my perspective, changed the trajectory of my life, and allowed me to bless so many. So at this point, I'm just looking to be as consistent, as faithful with my gift as possible, with the expectation that others will be blessed along the way.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Now, let's talk about, let's jump into the main topic, which is the adversity. So, what was your worst adversity that you faced in your life?
Worst, I've faced molestation, physical abuse. I was a father at 15 years old, took care of my child, found out after 11 years she wasn't mine, and the mother knew the entire time. So there's that trauma. I mean, there are so many things, but I think the point where I got to November 23rd, 2009, where I felt like life wasn't worth living, and I put my gun to my head at the right side of my temple and started compressing the trigger. It was due to being in the middle of the depression after finding out my daughter wasn't mine and not getting the help to be able to cope with those things and trying to take care of those things myself. But everything around me just felt like it was crumbling. And the best analogy or example that I can give or imagery is I've actually been in a situation where I almost drowned. So the feelings that I had then really like I can really relate those to how I felt when I was going through the depression. It felt like I was fighting to just be able to breathe, just to be able to get my head above water. And then when it got to a point to where I felt like I could breathe a little, another wave would come. So that was the greatest bit of adversity, dealing with that depression. And I was diagnosed with anxiety attacks, panic attacks, PTSD, along with the depression because of all those things. But once I started to get help and work on myself, then that's when things changed. But yeah, I would obviously have to be the greatest. That was the time I was committed to taking my life.
Well, it's really deep information that you shared with us, and I really appreciate you being brave and vulnerable and sharing all this information just to understand the molestation itself, or
Right,
physical abuse itself, or being
right,
father at such a young age, and that wasn't your, that itself is way enough for people to have anxiety or PTSD, emotional injury, and that where you didn't have a platform or somebody that could help you
right,
carry through those adversities. I am a survivor of child sex abuse where I was not believed when I told the story.
right.
And the significance of it, I'm 45, and that was when I was 13, 14. It still lives inside of me. And I feel that it would carry like throughout my life, no matter how old you become. And I don't think many people understand the magnitude of the statement that you made during these few minutes, that the depth of adversity and the psychological effect to it.
Yeah,
I don't know how we both are the survivor of these things. And then I tried to kill myself when I was 15 as well.
right.
And, how would you describe that to our audience who's actually never been through those kind of things?
I would say it's the epitome of hopelessness. Like people don't, or I didn't realize, and maybe people do realize, the thing that wakes you up every morning is some optimism about the day. You're looking forward, expecting something to happen that you're going to enjoy, that you're looking forward to be able to do. Even if that's, oh, I can go to work, I can pay, bills, or, whatever, I get to spend time with my loved ones. I get to go for a walk, I get to work out. There's something that you look forward to. And in the mental state I was in at the time, there was such a disconnection between my worth that even if I could, oh, I can go to work, there was a feeling that the world would be better off without me. Like that I'm not adding value. There isn't anything for me to look forward to as far as being able to provide something to someone else that would make them want to, like be in my life, um, or say that there is something valuable about me because I didn't see it in myself. So that the lack of belief, or I guess the belief that I wasn't worthy, I wasn't good enough, and I didn't deserve to live. Like that's something that if anyone feels that way, please talk to someone. Like please get help because it's not true. It is absolutely not true. And no matter what pain you've experienced and you're going through, if you remain faithful and work on yourself, the other side of it is so beautiful. It really is. And after you make it through that, you'll realize you've overcome the toughest thing in your life, no matter what comes after that. you'll have that experience to say, you know what, I've been through that. I can make it through this also. So
Yes. And thank you so much for sharing that. It's very powerful. Each words that you share with us is very heavy. And I think the audience really appreciate what you are sharing with us today. Now, I know it's a vulnerable question, but once you said to me, you shared with me about your daughter's story, it
right.
really truly broke my heart. And I can't imagine being 14, 15, being a father, and that wasn't yours, that you lost basically the 7 year of your youth.
11 years. Yeah.
11, I'm sorry. Yeah,
No, no
11.
worries. Yeah.
That's significant amount of time.
Right.
And like, how would you describe that to people?
Well, there's the perspective I had then, and there's the perspective I have now. When I was 14, I would sleep with guns in my bed. And I grew up in a very religious home. So I was taught if you committed suicide, you'd go to hell and you couldn't go to heaven. So I figured if I sleep with the gun under my pillow and my finger on the trigger and my head on it, that if it goes off in the middle of the night, I didn't technically do it. So it wasn't my fault. So I should still be able to get into heaven. So when my daughter came along, she really became a reason for living. So I was looking at it saying she didn't ask to be here. And I was always very like prideful about taking care of my business and making sure that all my I's are dotted, T's are crossed. So for me to have a child, okay, I can't check out. I have to go to work. I have a responsibility. I have to stay around. So that perspective of my reason to live also ties into why the depression was so great when I found out when she was 11 that she wasn't mine. Because during those 11 years, I hadn't done a lot of work on myself. I hadn't gotten help. So she had essentially become a crutch for me to justify my reason for living. But after I found out she wasn't mine, it wasn't like anything had gone away. Everything had just been held at bay. And now it all just settled in at the same time with this additional pain on top of it. Like I look like a fool, like my heart is broken. She's not even my little girl. Like, I remember looking at her hands and saying, wow, maybe she is mine because she has my hands. Well, when I was 15 and we found out that she was pregnant, I told my father, I was like, I don't think this child is mine. In my gut, I was like, I didn't. And I told him I didn't do like the whole process. I didn't finish. Like that was on the cart. I'm just, and he said, shut up. You just don't want to take care of your responsibilities. So not having support, it's something that it crushed me in that moment because the reason that I started having sex was to prove that I was a man because of the things that had happened to me when I was young. So here it is. I'm trying to solve things myself because I can't talk to anyone. And then something happens, and then I try to talk to someone and they reject me. It's like, well, why did I even waste my time talking to anyone? So, all of that being like just built into me over those 11 years, when I found out she wasn't mine, I became angry, I became hurt. Um, and like, I felt the world owed me. Like, this isn't fair. Why did this happen to me? But the thing I look at now and say is everything that I've gone through has contributed to me being who I am. And I love who I am. The life I have is directly related to who I am. Your amazing friend, my wife, I have her because of who I am. She has me because of who she is. And each of the experiences along the way have shaped me into the person that I am, that allows me to have the compassion for others and do work and remain resilient even when things may seem a little daunting and overwhelming at times. So after going through all of those things and surviving, it's like anything else that comes at me, it really, it's not much of a threat. It's like, okay, all right, fine. I've been through worse. So that's how it has affected me, and that's how my perspective has changed. I'm grateful for everything that I've gone through because it's blessed me with this beautiful version of myself that I'm proud of.
Well, thank you so much again for sharing that. I wanted to ask this question, but also I was looking for your book to be published, and then I'm
Hmm.
sure that you would dissect and talk about that.
Hmm.
But I'm very happy to have you on my new show and to talk about the adversity, which people usually shy away or
Right.
don't have that platform to talk about it. But the reason why I wanted to start this show is, what if there's somebody who's going through the same situations as you were, or
Right.
I was,
Right.
then we could be maybe an aid for the situation, talking about this, because we are survivors. And
Yes.
we are willing to share through our publication and through our podcast or whatever the platform it is. And I think the storytelling is very important, powerful. And, your story is absolutely powerful. Now, I want you to share about the title of the book. You can always come back to Killing Yourself.
Yes.
How did it come out? I know the story, but I want you to tell the audience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So November 23rd, 2009, I had an experience where someone conjured up a lie, which cost me, my job. And I'm just like, why is something going on? Like, why are things constantly happening to me? And I was getting exhausted anyways. And when that happened, it was really like the straw that broke the camel's back. And I was like, you know what? I give up. And I remember I'm sitting on the edge of the bed and I'm crying, and I'm like, I had that moment where people say your life flashes in front of you, and I was like, wow, so this is how my life ends. Like on the side of my bed at my hands with my USB subcompact HK 40 caliber. All right. And as I'm crying, I started compressing the trigger, and then I heard a voice say, call your mother. And in my mind, I was like, I rationalized it as, oh, most mothers don't get a chance to talk to their child before they commit suicide. So this will be my gift to her. Well, she, I didn't call her very often. And when I did, she would, call back, but I would have to leave a message. She was very busy with, business and traveling. Well, this day she picked up on the very first ring, and she was like, hello, hey, son. I was like, I love you. And she was like, I love you too. What's going on? I said, nothing. Just know I love you. And she said, all right, well, talk to me. And I said, I love you. She said, talk to me. I said, look, I'm not being manipulative, conniving, trifling, or anything like that, but I want to let you know I'm going to kill myself. And she said, what is it that you want? And I listed my interest in attending a school for graduate school. And she was like, well, go. I said, I can't. Because when I found out about my daughter, I went into a depression for 7 years. My student loans became defaulted. So I didn't have any way of paying for school, and I didn't have a reserve for it. And she told me, she was like, look, you can always come back to killing yourself. And when she said that, I was like, huh. I said, that's a good expletive point. And she still doesn't remember saying that to this day. But in that moment, I made a commitment. I said, okay, I'm going to go after what I want. If it doesn't work, I'll just come back to killing myself, because then I've exhausted every possibility and I've proven that I'm not worthy and don't deserve to live anyways. So it's useless me being around. Well, it was the number one international business school in the world that I wanted to go to. And 2 days before enrollment ended, I went up and I met the head of admissions, and I said, "Hey, I want to be here." And he said, "Oh, we can see about getting you here next year. You just got to, complete these things." I said, "No, I want to be here now." And he looked at me crazy. I said, I haven't done my GMAT, my application, my letters of recommendation, or my essay, but I want to be here." And he said, "How long would it take you to get that done?" I said, "Give me 2 weeks." And when I said it, I covered my mouth. I was like, "Where did that come from?" But 2 weeks later, he called me. He said, "I want to call you personally." And this is after enrollment. He said, "I want to call you personally and tell you congratulations." At that point, I was like, "Oh my God, like, I got accepted." But I was like, "Wait, this is 200,000. I don't have the money." And while speaking with my mother, she said, "Just go, just go." And that's exactly what I did. I went, and the first semester, I did not get the money, could not find the money, but I was like, "Oh, well, I'm just going to go." And I went the entire first semester without paying. Eventually ended up landing an internship, receiving the funds, and was able to complete my degree. And the book, You Can Always Come Back to Killing Yourself, details the process from, gun to my head, along with a little background of why, to the journey of, pursuing my goal and my dream with all my heart, knowing that, look, suicide is always an option, but at least give yourself the chance of going after what you want. And in the process of going after what I wanted, I was able to learn the principles for creating beauty in my life. And now am no longer, even considering taking my life, because I've seen the magic and the alchemy that's available to each of us. And my heart has now become one fixed on sharing this with as many people as possible so that they too can create the life of their dreams. And that's why the name of our company is Move Your Dreams, because our goal is to help people move their dreams into reality.
Well, I am speechless listening to your story, and I can't wait to uh, get your book, a copy of your book.
Thank you.
And
Absolutely.
yes, congratulations. Now, I want you to tell our audience about the tools, tangible things that they can use when they are going through a depression or maybe attempt of suicide. That
Yes.
you know, these are the things that I really wanted to talk about
Yes.
because people say go to find therapists, and then like sometimes that doesn't work. And then, some of the things that I've experienced myself that I shared in my book, I Give From Adversity. If you have anything that you can share with our audience, um, I would so appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity. The very first thing that I would say is to take time and realize how special you are. Like, throughout my life, I was so focused on, do to take care of someone, do to take care of something, that I rarely took care of myself. It could be something as like one of the main things that I live by is meditation. Meditation is a game changer. I've gone to therapists, psychiatrists, and they've, put me on medication where I didn't feel like myself, and I just felt, just even keel all the time. And people may think, "Oh, that's great." No, because the beauty of life, are the emotions. Being able to smile, being able to be excited, knowing like that your heart will ache if you see your baby hurting, and wanting to rescue them or to help them in whichever way possible. Knowing that you are able to experience the full range of emotions really is what I believe to be the beauty of life. Because if every day was exactly the same, perfect weather, it would get to a point to where we didn't appreciate it. So taking that time to focus on yourself is something that really helped me. Meditating, physical activity, yoga, drinking water, diet is another thing that is very important. I'm completely plant based now. And there's been such a significant difference in my cognitive approach to things. It's like I'm so much more calm. Like the anxiety, panic attack, PTSD, those things uh, are no longer, like as prevalent. There may be a moment, once or twice a year where something comes up, but then I know the tools. One of the main things, there's a book called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. The last chapter is titled Serenity. Someone told me to write that out every single day for 90 days. I wrote that out every single day for 90 days. And I was taking the medication when I first started. But then after about 5 days, I stopped taking them and haven't taken them since. And that's been over what? Oh my gosh. So that's been about 7 years now. So like it's something that completely changed my life. And I've shared it with other people. There was a mother who found their 5-year-old son after killing themselves. The son found his dad's gun, shot himself in the head, and she was angry, hurt, and like gave her the tool as well. She wrote it out, and her brother says she's the happiest person he knows now, and that she understands that even though her child is gone, she has other children and she has a life to live for, and she has to go on. So that tool, like Serenity, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, it starts off calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. It is the result of long and patient efforts and self-control. Like as you read through it, it's so beautiful. And you don't even realize what's happening or when it happens, but then you notice a significant difference in yourself. So that book and that chapter, like hands down, I would recommend that to every single person on this planet.
Can you? I want to type the title of the book. What is it called? Can
Yes.
you spell that?
As a Man Thinketh,
As a man thinketh.
thinketh, Thinketh.
H-I-K.
I believe it. I believe that's it. Let me,
As a man thinketh.
yes, by James Allen. Oh,
Okay.
so it's Thinketh.
Let
Yes.
me type it. Thinketh.
ETH.
Got it.
Yep, by
Got it.
James Allen.
Oh, what does that mean? Okay.
And the chapter is the last one, Serenity.
Okay.
And write that out every single day for 90 days.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, it takes
Well,
about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on who you are.
I think your book will become something like that to somebody. And I have a faith that
Yes.
your story will inspire people because that's your life and that's your survival story. And then that's how you survive your adversity.
Right.
And unfortunately, things happen in our lives. And whether you are in Japan or in America, like,
Right.
it doesn't matter where you are. Like, just like the perspective that we
Right.
learn from the adversity and the
Right.
tools that we learn. So I've had really amazing guests so far. And one of the one of the first guests, Deidre, who is a survivor of two active gun shooting situations, that way she gets like really triggered, that she has this stone that she carries and then ground herself, like physical stone. She actually
Mm,
showed it to me during the show.
beautiful.
So I think as a human being, when we go through these traumatic situations, like, we try to thrive to find our way to ground ourselves, or meditation, or anything that works, right?
Hmm.
So, but then why?
Right.
Because we want to live.
Yeah.
And, just, I think, um, to me, I want to shift it to the last part of the question, which is a gift.
Yes.
To me, it's really fighting through the adversity, but learning about myself, my strengths and weakness, and vulnerability, and sharing it with others. And that's one of the gifts. So, what is your gift that you learned from the adversity?
I really believe that I'm guided and protected through all of this, because people can say that, oh, you say you heard a voice. Well, that wasn't the first time. April 1st, 1996, a friend of mine was murdered, and I found out at like 2 in the morning. So it's April Fool's Day when they told me, and I'm sitting on the edge of the bed and I'm flustered and angry. And then a voice said, lay back. And I was like, I can't. And it's like, lay back. And I laid back, and a bullet flew right where my head was. And it was a stray bullet. So through the adversity, what I've learned is I do have some sort of guide that is loving me, that is protecting me, that has a purpose for my life. And my life is meant to be a beacon of light for others who may feel alone, who may feel like they can't do it, but to see me and say, well, if he can do it, I can do it too. And, like my gift is a gift of service. That's the greatest thing that I've learned. I have a heart to be here so that others can be served by my existence and the gifts that I've been blessed with.
That is really, really, really beautiful. And I am so glad that you survived through this with whatever the guided voices or maybe your intuition.
Right.
I think, you know, I'll tell myself that, you know, whenever it's time for us to leave this earth, that's the time. And
Yeah.
then, you know, you cannot fight for that. And then whatever the reason is. But then until then, what is our worth?
Right.
And I love that you realize through this adversity that your maybe purpose is your existence, which is
Yes.
huge, and to service others.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt the impact of your existence serving other people's lives?
Yes. I've had people who have faced life threatening situations, and for them to me to work with them and them to say their lives are better, like to know that I'm able to help an individual who has a family, or I'm able to help a family, or I'm able to assist, a person who feels like they're alone, but they tap into the greatness that's within them and they start to fulfill their purpose. That honestly is the best feeling in the world, to have a soul that feels lost. And I'm blessed for them to come across my path. And I've been faithful enough in my life that I'm able to be a conduit for them to get whatever they need so that they can tap into what it is they truly love and pursue that. Like that, I've had that happen on several occasions, and no money can seeing a person go from being miserable and hopeless to overjoyed and excited and walking in their purpose. Like that, I'm getting chills thinking about it. That's the coolest experience for me.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. So, if people want to find out about how to get in touch with you, how to get your service, what is the website or social media that people can go to?
The website is moveyourdreams.com, moveyourdreams.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Move Your Dreams. My email is cboozer, C for Christopher, and then Boozer, Booz as in zebra, ER as in Robert, at moveyourdreams.com. And we have amazing tools and resources to help. And there is nothing that anyone is going through that they should feel alone, and that, feel alone and think that there aren't people there that can help them. So no matter what it is, whether it's me or someone else, that I'm connected to or within the organization. Like we're here to serve, we're here to help, and to ensure that people have an amazing life.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Christopher, for coming to A Gift from Adversity. I'm absolutely honored to have you on my
Thank you
show.
for having me. Thank you.
Uh,
It truly is a pleasure.
yes, and I'm so thankful that you tapped into this difficult conversation that I'm really trying to normalize this adversity in our
Right.
lives that people can get through it and then be okay with. So
Yeah.
I truly appreciate your presence today.
Thank you.
Great. So for our audience, I have wonderful guest coming this Friday, David Torres, and who's going to talk about his sobriety for over 6 years. And then I have another guest from Japan, Darren Reynolds, on February 6th scheduled, that he's going to talk about his depression as well. So thank you for tuning in, and then we'll see you next time.